But this administration seems to have no problem finding money when they want to spend it on their priorities. When they need hundreds of billions of dollars, pay off student loans for graduate students in gender studies programs, they somehow find it. When it's trying to get helicopters to deliver food and water, cellular service, and life-saving medicine into these mountain valleys, they somehow can't seem to find the money.
Meet the Press host Kristen Welker gets slapped with reality when she interviews Senator Tom Cotton. She tries to press him when it comes to the FEMA response, the FEMA funding, and the 2020 election. Yes, I know she's still stuck on that for some reason. However, Senator Tom Cotton came prepared and repeatedly dropped fact after fact after fact. And where we're going to start first is with the disastrous FEMA response.
There's no doubt that there are challenges in this recovery effort, but I'm asking you about the misinformation that the former president is spreading. Here's what the Charlotte Observer editorial board wrote. They wrote, quote, former President Donald Trump has politicized the situation at every turn, spreading falsehoods and conspiracies that fracture the community instead of bringing it together. Do you think Donald Trump should leave campaign politics out of disaster relief?
Well, no, Kristen, again, you have Governor Kemp who said that the response has been lacking. I understand the Democratic governor of North Carolina is going to praise Joe Biden Kamala Harris in the middle of an election season. But the simple fact is we're more than a week on. We're still not conducting recovery operations. They're still engaged in rescue operations because Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were slow to answer the bell here. They were slow-footed and they were overmatched by events. You even had the Secretary of Homeland Security saying there's not enough money left in the fund. So it is the case that the administration itself, the secretary who oversees FEMA, has said there's not enough money left in the fund, and they have been spending billions of dollars for the last 4 years to move migrants from our border, to put them up in hotels and give them room service and maids. That's simply a fact.
Now, when I'm recording these videos at times, I get a little angry because I could tell that the media is picking and choosing what facts they want to acknowledge, what information they want to push, what narrative, obviously, they want to drive home. And they are choosing to not acknowledge that there are local citizens in those damaged areas that have clearly come out and stated, we have not met with FEMA, we haven't seen FEMA, we don't have this, we don't have that, and we have no communication. These are things that are still happening today. So if someone goes onto the news and they say, hey, the response has not been good, people are not getting what they need, that is not a lie. And when Governor Brian Kemp had to call up Joe Biden and pretty much demand or beg him to say, hey, give us more disaster relief for all these counties that are in shambles. So at the end of the day, the media gets to pick and choose. And this is why I keep saying it all the time. They lose so much credibility. Now, one thing that we want to add to this response is what Scott Jennings had to say. Listen to this.
I literally lived through Hurricane Katrina in the Bush White House. And as I know you lived through it, Anderson, covering it. And I don't recall any restraint by Democrats or the national media coming after George W. Bush and FEMA and every other thing. And it was immediately politicized. And, I well remember it. It's seared into my brain. And so now all these people are out here saying, we can't politicize this. We can't criticize this. Nothing can be said about Biden and Harris here or FEMA or anything else. And I just think, well, if a Republican were in the White House and the Republican president were at the beach and the vice president were raising money with celebrities, I guarantee you somebody would be mad about it.
Yeah, somebody would be mad at it because we know there's a double standard when it comes to the media. They pick and choose. If Donald Trump was on the beach, they would have a field day, right? If J.D. Vance was somewhere else, wasn't nowhere to be found, and people are crying for help after the hurricane hit, yeah, they would be going after both of them, right? Now, let's talk about that entire response about the FEMA funding, right? Because they also want to manipulate the facts on that as well. Watch.
My broader question to you, I think, is about this misinformation. Do you think this is a time to put falsehoods aside, like the idea that FEMA funds are being redirected to migrants, which is just not true?
Well, it is true that FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security have been spending billions of dollars on migrants. Now, I understand some people say they're separate funds, but we just passed a short-term spending bill. It's very common for the administration to come and ask for permission to move money between funds, especially to prepare for emergencies. And second, I would note that this administration seems to have no problem finding money when they want to spend it on their priorities. When they need hundreds of billions of dollars to pay off student loans for graduate students in gender studies programs, they somehow find it. When it's trying to get helicopters to deliver food and water and cellular service and life-saving medicine into these mountain valleys, they somehow can't seem to find the money.
And again, $110 million have been sent to survivors so far. And again, those are different funds than disaster relief funds.
Now that's Kristen Welker's MO. She always has to throw in, well, it's this, it's that, here are the numbers, et cetera, et cetera. But again, it's a manipulation of the story, right? Yes, it can be true that the federal government has sent out 110 million, but we don't actually know that all of these citizens have received 110 million. We really don't know that. We have heard reports of citizens being denied disaster assistance and relief. We do also have confirmed that 750 isn't for one person. It's actually for a family. So if you don't have a family, apparently you can't qualify for the 750. So throwing those numbers out there really doesn't tell the true story. And what the true story is that the reaction from the federal government, from Joe Biden to Kamala Harris, Mayorkas, FEMA, has been disastrous, mediocre at best. This is 2024. The technology, resources, money is not an issue in today's world. That FEMA response should have been there on Sunday. They should have had Wi-Fi up on Monday. They should not have to have called Elon Musk. You shouldn't have Laura Trump and Ivanka Trump and all these other people like Brian Kemp flying supplies in, getting Wi-Fi set up. Why is a private citizen establishing communications for this area? Shouldn't FEMA be able to have that capability? Why is it that people are reporting that FEMA is locking down certain locations, refusing people from dropping off supplies? I mean, this is getting out of hand. It is a true scandal, but only if the media would just report on it. Now, if you're enjoying this video, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you want to support us further, go to the link in the description below, grab yourself a t-shirt or buy us a cup of coffee. Now, we know why they don't want to report on it, because they're so obsessed with January 6th and the 2020 election outcome and results, and will Republicans accept what the results will be in the 2024 election? That's what they want to report on. They don't want to talk about the people that are hurting right now, because that would be an indictment towards Kamala Harris. That would actually diminish her chances to get elected. So they choose not to report that, and they want to dig up the past. And that's exactly what happened between her and Tom Cotton. And so here's that exchange.
I want to put this question to you, Senator, just to put this to rest. Can you say definitively here and now that Donald Trump did lose the 2020 election?
Kristen, Joe Biden was elected president in 2020. It was an unfair election in many ways. I mean, you had states that were changing their election practices or election laws, sometimes in violation of their constitution. You had networks combining with big tech to suppress what we now know to be a truthful story about Hunter Biden's laptop and the evidence that it exposed about Biden family corruption. So obviously Joe Biden was elected president. We know that in part because—
But did Trump lose?
Joe Biden was elected, Kristen. There's a process by which we elect presidents. There's votes in November. You have an electoral college vote. You certify the election, and then you have the inauguration. Joe Biden was elected president. Everything has gone to hell in a handbasket as a result of it.
As you know, though, I mean, it has been stated that this was one of the most secure elections in U.S. history. But do you just not want to say that Trump lost? Why not just say the simple—
Kristen,
if Biden is president, can you just simply say Trump lost?
Joe Biden was elected president in 2020. That's why we have runaway inflation. That's why we have more than 10 million illegals in this country.
And that's what the facts are. It's been a disastrous last 3.5 years. We know that Kamala Harris can't run on the economy. She can't run on immigration. She can't run on crime and safety. She can't run on foreign policy. The only thing that she can run on is abortion and the whole democracy hoax. And that's where we find ourselves today. And so this is why the media is trying so hard to push questions that is obviously geared towards diminishing Trump, right? And making sure people see Trump in a negative light. We know that the coverage when it comes to Kamala Harris and Donald Trump is night and day. We know that. The problem is that she's such a weak candidate that even though the media is doing this, it's not really helping her put Donald Trump away. This is why he still has a slight lead in the battleground states. This is why people don't trust her when it comes to the economy or the immigration, et cetera, et cetera. And so the media has tried, but will it work in the end? No, I don't believe so. And when you keep talking about the past, the 2020 election, no one wants to hear that. When you keep talking about January 6th, no one wants to hear that. The only people who really love hearing that and get all obsessed about it are these Trump deranged voters, these Trump deranged media hacks. Like, these are the people who get all riled up about it. But undecided voters, independent voters, people who are living their lives from one day to the next, paycheck to paycheck, they could care less about that. They want to talk about results. Now, as we stated earlier in the video, how she tried to push back on the whole FEMA scandal, I thought it would be good for all of us to just hear how much the White House is truly going to lie about this, which includes the media, Kamala Harris, and all of these Democrats. They're going to continue to push this lie. So let's first hear what the White House had to say about this, and then fact check it for ourselves.
It's just categorically false. No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. So FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants.
Because remember, telling the truth would mean that Kamala Harris would have zero chance of becoming the next president of the United States. So they will do whatever must be done to make sure that Trump does not make it back to the White House. Why do you think the FBI has lied about the crime data? Why is that? Why do you think they've lied for years on end about the border being secure? Why have they lied saying, oh, we don't allow abortions in the 7th and 8th and 9th month? That's not true. That's just a lie. Why are they lying about all this stuff? It's because they know that it's going to hurt Kamala Harris and her chance to get back to the White House. But more importantly, that it would help Donald Trump win this election. And they would rather lie than to be truthful in a way that would help Donald Trump. So that's my opinion. What do you guys think about this exchange between Senator Tom Cotton and Kristen Welker? It's not the first or the last one between them. I just find it interesting that when he checks her with these facts, that she won't even acknowledge them. She won't even say, yeah, you're right about that. That is true. She has to immediately go into the talking points, and that's why they are a dying breed, in my opinion. So let me know what your thoughts are and more in the comments section below. What do you think about what Senator Tom Cotton said? And what do you think about these questions that they're so caught up on, especially the 2020 election? Let me know below. Thank you for checking out the video today. Stay grateful, stay focused, and stay true. Peace.